Hey, welcome back to Author Talk. This time I'm sitting here with Alexandra Christian, author of Huntress, the Dr. Watson series of Harkerverse novellas, among a plethora of other
Plethora.
books. Plethora,
That's a good word.
including my favorite cover of Alexa's is her latest release, Hellsong.
Oh, that's your
That
favorite?
is my favorite cover, including the books of yours that I've published, and I didn't publish Hellsong.
Wow.
But I think
Wow.
that cover's amazing, so I think everyone should go out and buy it after they buy everything that you've produced for Falstaff.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree.
But tonight we're talking about favorite holiday memories. What's another
Well,
good one?
well, I was sitting out there thinking, what can I tell about? And I can't talk about the holidays without talking about my husband, author Tally Johnson, talking about his mother and her complete inability to cook. Um, Tally's mom, God love her, she's one of those people, she doesn't want to follow recipes. She's kind of a rule breaker and she just can't cook. She just does not have like a natural talent for cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had warned me about this before I met her the very first time. And one of the very first times that I met her was for a Thanksgiving dinner. And we go to her house and she had everything all set up. And the first thing that disturbed me was that she had just plunked out the cranberry sauce onto like a little glass tray, like normal people, but it was sitting straight up and she hadn't sliced it. They were just walking by with a spoon, digging it out. And I thought that was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen.
Philistines.
Right, exactly. I mean, there is an etiquette to canned cranberry sauce, and they were just not using it. But so after I got over the cranberry sauce thing, we get to the turkey, and of course she had the whole my mother was a slice the turkey kind of person and put it on the table, but that's okay. Doris had the whole turkey sitting there. It looked beautiful. And it had like this rice pilaf thing arranged around it, which I thought was a little odd, but okay, whatever. So I get, my rice and everything, and there was a little dish of what I assumed was gravy sitting beside it. So I dish up a lot, being a good Southern girl, I dish up a lot of gravy and put it on my rice, and I sit down at the table and I'm trying to choke it down. I'm like, this is the weirdest tasting gravy I've ever had in my life. And finally, Tally's brother leans over to me and goes, that's hollandaise sauce, right? So then I'm like, what do I do? Do I continue to eat it or do I just kind of like shove it off to the side? So I tried to continue eating it, but it just wasn't working out. So I ended up hiding it under a roll. Um, but the next Christmas, I was in there. There's so many Christmas stories attached to Tally's family because they're so odd. I mean, I love them, but they're so odd.
And
The
look, for either one of us to call anybody else odd, that's a high bar to
Right,
clear.
right. It is a high bar, but I highly recommend having family and friends that are different from you because you learn all kinds of interesting new things. But they had a big boom box setting up one Christmas, and they had told Tally's brother to put some music on. Well, they assumed that he would find Christmas music, right? But he was a teenager and a smartass at the time, and so he put on Nine Inch Nails, and his mother said, "No, that's not appropriate." And so he's digging through and found a CD, and we still don't know why anybody would have this CD, but it was a CD of the Argentinian national anthem in 46 variations. And so we listened to that, I'm not kidding. And that became a holiday tradition at their house for years. We always pulled out the Argentinian national anthem in 46 variations, and we would at least listen to one variation. We wouldn't listen to the whole thing, but at least one. But my favorite Doris Christmas thing was again, she doesn't like to use recipes, and she's always trying to find a way to make cake or sweets or whatever be healthy. Particularly at that time because Tally's little brother Brennan, had kidney disease, and so she was always kind of trying to come up with a way to make stuff that he could eat, which is admirable. But she didn't understand anything about food chemistry, so she had made this spice cake for Christmas dessert. And it was beautiful. I mean, it was, it was homemade. It smelled really delicious. She had used like a stencil and powdered sugar on top to make this lovely design.
Wow.
And it was just, we were like, wow, this is amazing. And she says, Tally, go ahead and slice up the spice cake. So he gets a knife and he sits down and he starts slicing it. And I'm sitting there next to him and he's slicing it and he's slicing it. He's slicing it and she's like, Tally, I told you to do that. He's like, Mom, I'm trying. Every time he would slice into the spice cake, it would just magically heal itself. Because she hadn't used like any eggs or anything. All she had used was some sort of oil. And so it just kept going back together every time. So it was like the vampire spice cake of Christmas.
Wow.
Yeah. But their family, we love them. And so
And bless their hearts.
bless their hearts. Bless their hearts.
All right. Well, thank you, Lex.
Thank you for having me.
This time I've got with me Lucy Blue. She's one of our senior editors at Falstaff Books. She's the head of our Falstaff Crushed line. She's the author of the Stella Hart Romantic Mysteries, American Starlet, a flaming shit ton of other stuff, including, speaking of flames, The Devil Makes Three, about a southern town's nasty little secrets coming back to literally haunt them.
Literally haunt the hell out of them.
But speaking of hauntings and ghosts, let's tell the story of one of your favorite holiday stories, the Ghost of Holiday Stories Past.
Ghost of Holiday Stories Past. Well, like most Southern families, food is a really big thing.
We just ate like, as my cousin Dale would say, we just ate like hostages. So yeah.
Exactly. And there are very specific things that you make, that you have in our family. And my grandmother always made ambrosia. Now, if you've seen Edward Scissorhands, you see the thing that's got the marshmallow fluff. No. It's oranges, just the pulp cut out. There's a word for that, like royales or something. And canned pineapple, and maraschino cherries with the juice, and coconut. And you've got to do the coconut where you get it at the store and you whack it and drain the milk out of it. So it's a whole big thing, okay, to make it. You do one coconut, you make the ambrosia with half of it, you make the coconut cake with the other half of it. Otherwise, it ain't Christmas. And that is a lot of stuff to go through. And I cook, but I don't cook like that, usually. But because of one particular Christmas, I will always have a punch bowl full of ambrosia on my Christmas table. Now, my grandparents had 6 children. Each of those children had at least 2 children of their own, and everybody came home for Christmas. I don't know how they did it. My grandparents worked in the mill, and they bought a Christmas present for every one of their children and every one of their grandchildren every year. Now, the rest of us drew names, but Grandma and Papa, they bought presents for everybody.
You know, my family was the same way. Even by the time my parents were on a fixed income, there was still something for every one of us 4 kids. And when times were really tight, my parents literally went through this house where we're sitting and found things that they thought would matter to us.
Mm-hmm.
So then they could give us things without spending money.
See, and that's awesome. That's family.
And it got some crap out of Mom and Daddy's house.
Which is always good.
Yeah.
But, so my grandmother was like me. Everybody says I sound like her and look like her. She was very vocal. She was, the party animal. She was the life of the party on Christmas. She was in control. My grandfather had a little rocking chair that sat next to the credenza in the dining room where he could look out the back window into the backyard or look at the dining room where we all were. And he was sitting behind the table all day long while just chaos mills all around him. Sitting in front of him is the punch bowl full of ambrosia. Sitting next to him is the credenza, which has the fruitcake, the good china, and a bottle of bourbon.
I knew there was booze in here.
There is bourbon in this store. So he had been sitting drinking bourbon all day Christmas Day. Get your papa some ice. Get your papa some ice. We all took turns going to the food to get papa some ice. So one of my cousins, one of my younger cousins, in their Christmas stocking, had gotten a little wind-up duck, the kind that you put in the bathtub. So we're all sitting there, and like all Southern families, that woman heavy, because my grandparents had 4 daughters and 2 sons. By about 5 o'clock, the airing of the grievances starts happening. Okay, and so the conversation was definitely taking a turn. And all of a sudden, my grandmother looks up and goes, "Bill Wiley, what in the hell are you doing?" He is sitting there laughing like he has taken the wind-up duck and put it in the punch bowl of ambrosia. And so it is making laps in the ambrosia. Completely broke the tension. Y'all, every Christmas they were alive, from there on, there was always a duck in the ambrosia. So that we are on a quest for a wind-up duck, but we will always have the ambrosia.
Hell yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Lucy.
Thank you for asking.
Hey, welcome back. This time I am hanging out with Susan S.H. Roddy, author of a great big pile of stuff, including the Frankenstein stories that's set in our Harkerverse novella series at Falstaff Books, along with a great big pile of other things.
Yeah.
So, Susan, why don't you tell us one of your favorite holiday memories that may or may not have occurred in a Waffle House? Because that is a fabulous sweater.
Well, I have Waffle House stories, but none of them happened on Christmas, so I guess that kind of disqualifies all of those.
Yeah, we'll save those for later.
Yeah, I'll tell you about the one about the fight with the police officer one day. Not me, somebody else. We just got to watch. I don't know, favorite Christmas memories? I guess the one that stands out the most, and I guess it's probably because he's not here anymore, but involves my dad. When I started taking piano lessons when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I was never particularly good at it by the rest of the world standards, but I mean, you could at least tell what I was playing. And my dad was mostly deaf. He had Meniere's disease, and one of the surgeries that they did in like the late 60s, early 70s on this caused him to go almost completely deaf in both ears. Mm. We still think that a lot of that may have been him using as an excuse to ignore us, but you know, either way.
As someone who lives with hearing loss, there's a convenience level to it from time to time, but no, most of the time I probably really can't understand what the hell you're saying.
Well, yeah, I'm the same way. But we always, every year, we had a Christmas party the weekend before Christmas, and my mother would about kill herself to get this thing ready for all of our ungrateful family who, you know, I get to deal with them next weekend too. Yay.
Congrats.
Anyway, moving on. Well, when I was a teenager, a lot of times I got drafted to play the piano because, well, I could. And I was, I don't know, probably 14, 15 years old, and my dad never left his chair the entire time the party was going on. He was always watching football or racing or whatever. And I happened to look up one night, and I had been playing for well over an hour, and they wouldn't let me stop. And I happened to look up, and he was standing in the doorway behind me. And I don't think he realized that I saw him, just listening. Now, he had never consciously paid attention to me playing the piano in all the years that I did. And I remember thinking it was strange that he was standing there watching me. Well, later that night after everybody left, Mom came in and she told me that he had stood there almost the entire time I had been playing. Never said anything else about it. Ever. Never mentioned anything. But every now and then, I think about that. Now, I haven't played the piano in years. But every time I hear Christmas music on the piano, I think about that. I think about him standing in that doorway, so focused on what I was doing, he had no idea I'd even turn around and see him.
Nice. See, that's good heartwarming shit. It's nothing like what we usually do.
I know. Well, I mean, there was also the time that I convinced my oldest niece that Krampus was real by going outside while she was spending the night and scratching on the windows.
There's the Susan Roddy that we all know and fear. All right. Well, thank you, Susan.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey there. Welcome back to Author Talk. And this time we're going to talk about some favorite holiday memories. I'm here with Misty Massey, author of Mad Kestrel and Kestrel's Dance, and editor of the forthcoming Nevermore anthology from Falstaff Books, program director for Saga, the genre fiction writing conference, and a plethora of other things that she does.
I do it all.
Misty, tell us about one of your favorite holiday memories.
When my son was almost 3, we had gone home to where my parents live for the Christmas vacation, and it was Christmas Eve, and we had gone to church like many people do, and we went to an Episcopal church down in Beaufort, South Carolina, and they had a huge Advent wreath that hung from the ceiling and had these enormous candles.
Oh, wow.
And there was one big white candle in the very middle, and that was the Christ Child candle. It gets lit on Christmas Day. So it was not lit yet. Somehow my 2-year-old son conflated the idea of Santa Claus coming tonight with baby Jesus, and decided that it was baby Jesus that was coming tonight and that he was going to pop up out of that candle. So we're sitting in church, and everybody's trying, he's trying to be good, but he's so excited, and he's watching that candle. He can't take his eyes off that candle. And every few minutes he'll say, "The baby Jesus coming out of the candle, Mommy, any minute." And I'd be like, "Yes, baby, the baby Jesus is coming." So we eventually get around to the Eucharist, which for some people that's communion, same thing, when you go up to the altar and you get the body and the blood and everything. So we go up, we do our Eucharist, we get back to our seats, and we're sitting quietly listening to hymns being sung. And the way that my church did it, you walked down the middle, you went to the altar, and then you walked back around the sides of the pews. So we're sitting there, and this family, we've already done ours, and this family is coming down from the altar, and they're walking past, and one of the women in the family was carrying an infant, a newborn, wrapped in a blue blanket. And my 2-year-old, very quiet church, soft music, nobody's saying anything. My 2-year-old leaps to his feet, points and says, "I told you the baby Jesus was coming." So.
That is adorable.
It was adorable.
All right. Thank
So,
you.
thank
We'll
you.
bring on another.